How's it going? I'm Shane and I'm back with a Mushoku Tensei Jobless Reincarnation episode review. It's season 2, part 2, episode 15, entitled Afar. Before I go any further, please come closer and hit that like button, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can be notified of more reviews just like this one. If you want to support me even further, my Patreon is in the link below. Not in the link, but in the description below, but the link is in there. So, last week's episode was heartfelt. This week's episode was again heartfelt. A little bit of fighting last week, and I really wish episode 13 had the substance that 14 and now 15 have, because this is honestly what makes this series great, is the emotional parts and the talking about trauma. I mentioned that last week. That's what it's all about. Now, there is something that I did not mention last week that does bear mentioning, but I'm going to mention it second when I get to this Nanahoshi part. Let's talk about this first part here, because we start off with Paul sending Rudy a letter, telling about what's going on. He finally is like, oh yeah, congratulations about the Magical Academy thing. I know we don't always see eye to eye, but I'm happy for you. And he's going to send him his sisters, Norm and Aisha, because right now, him and his party are at the East Port, and they're going to go across the sea to get to Greyrat. And Greyrat has the second most harshest terrain in the Demon Continent, and he would not feel right having children there. And so his crew, which is, we see the crew, Roxy, Lilia, Aisha's mom, right? His other new crew, girl who's chesty, the other girl who they didn't show in the series, but in the light novel she was assaulted. Then there's some other woman, I don't know her. Then there's the dwarf that was a part of his original crew. I wish I remembered his name. I know I looked it up before. I forget it now. Surprised his husband hasn't shown up. Yes, he has a husband, which is, I guess, might be a spoiler. I don't know. That stuff shouldn't really matter. But Roxy is also there, and Roxy looks freaking terrified. And I kind of realized early on why she was terrified, but we'll get to that in a second. So and part of the reason actually that I don't even have to get to that in a second, get to it right now. Paul ran into an old friend of his and Rudy that he's going to send the kids with to get to his house. And I'm looking at the silhouette of them doing the clasp and the handshake, and I realized, I'm like, that's Rudeus. That's my boy Rudeus, isn't it? And at the end of this episode, the girls are there, and it's Rudeus. It's RJ. It's my dude RJ. Pardon me. And but Paul gets a little bit of background, or should I say a heads up about the girls, right? Aisha's clever like Rudy. She has a good head on shoulders, but Norn doesn't like her brother, doesn't like her sister. And he's like, I'm sorry I put you in this position, but you're the big brother, can you put up with it? And he's apologizing, and Rudy is like, he's always apologizing, but you know what? It means he trusts me. And I like that. It's showing the growth of their relationship, and really pay attention to that intro, because part 2, if they go where I think they're going to go in part 2, it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt. But Rudy's all for it. He's like, yeah, the fact that I got this big house, and his wife, Sophie, she's okay with it. And he's thinking to himself, once Paul is done, him and everybody else can live here too. And it's funny, he's like, a former NEET is going to end up taking care of his family. And the fact that, remember his past life, he was a NEET. He was a recluse. And the only reason why he's recluse was, the trauma. He protected a girl, then he got beaten up, then he got stripped and literally semi-crucified on his front gate, humiliated beyond all belief. Bully culture in Japan is still bad. Culture bully, social bully, all of it's still bad. Still bad. But I digress on that point. It is fantastic that he is at this point his second life, and that's a thing that I need to make a second video, because a lot of people hate on this show for the early on lewdness and lewd factors. It's weird when you can only see a show for one thing and you can't look beyond it. I don't want to say it says a lot about your taste in shows or says a lot about your perception, but it does say a lot about your perception, and that's okay if you can't perceive things. What I've been learning for a while is two people can look at the same thing, but somehow come to two completely total understandings. But that is the brother-sisters part, brother-sisters part. Next week's episode is going to be called Norm and Aisha, so I'm looking forward to that because redheaded little sister is adorable. Blonde-headed little sister needs to get with the damn program. But based on the intro with the smiles, it seems like she will eventually, right? So since I already did that's happening next time, I'm putting it all in a nice little package for y'all. The meat of this episode is Nanahoshi. Rudy is working with Nanahoshi with the spell, and she's excited. And while Rudy's, putting his mind into it, he's like, the circuit doesn't work. It's like it's a gap there. And a tear forms. And, she's like, all right, you can go home. And it's a failure. Rudy's like, oh, she's tough. She can handle it. Just look, she took it heavy, but she's a tough girl. By the time he gets to the third step, she is screaming out. She's ripping her book. She's tossing shit. She's like, I can't go home. I can't go home. I can't go home. She's just full mental and emotional breakdown because she can't go home. Unlike Rudy, which I don't think either of them have paid attention to this, or maybe they haven't, it's just not saying it. Nanahoshi truly is brilliant. She's really smart. Rudy is too, right? Not taking anything from him, but a lot of a thing that you must learn, not just in the art, but in real life, sometimes people who are really smart can miss some of the obvious. And one of the obvious things is Rudy was reborn into this world, which is why he has the magic and all that other stuff and the woogity woogity woogity. And Nanahoshi was not, which is why she doesn't have the magic. She was brought here. She was transported here, which is part of why she's doing, the summoning stuff. If you got questions about that, check out the Mushoku Tensei playlist I got on the channel. That way you can watch some of the earlier reviews to understand some of the goings-ons. But yes, so she wants to go home because she still has a life, right? And as far as we know, this is a totally different world. So she's having a breakdown. He picks her up, runs into Zenoba. Zenoba takes over the rest of the way, right? And everybody's looking around. I love the command they kind of have because Zenoba said, make a path so they can get her to the infirmary. And Rudy's then going to take her to his place because it's like, I can't leave her here in this state. So Zenoba carries her, and we get a cute moment we get several cute moments actually between Rudy and Julie, because he's asking if Zenoba's taking good care of her. He even picks her up, and because Zenoba's master, he's grandmaster, and she's like, yeah, he feeds me a lot. She's happy, which means she knows she used to be a slave. She didn't get fed a lot, so he is truly treating her well. You can tell he's treating her well. And Sylvie is nice enough to let him keep Nanahoshi there. They call her Miss Silent. Well, Mr. Silent at first, but call her Miss Silent. They can let him keep there until she, gets better. Sylvie even takes care of her, does a little healing just in case, but found a knife on her. And Rudy's face goes pale. So from this scene into the next one, where very obvious from Zenoba and Julie, because Julie was asking Rudy if he was okay before they even got there, when they were still in the infirmary. And so when they get back, Zenoba and Julie can both tell something's wrong with him. And when pressing it, and I'm happy that you see this subtle growth where Rudy is able to be open about what's bothering him or what the problem is. He's like, I understand what she's going through. Like, I would have secluded myself like that at one point in time, and I have. And while Zenoba openly says, well, I don't understand, but Rudy, he can. And the knife kind of confirms, like, if she can't go home, she's going to probably try to end things. And I think Sylvie picked up on that too. It's not just the girl got the knife to defend herself. It's either this is going to work or I'm going to take another option. Very real. Like the themes of trauma, all sorts of kinds of trauma, whether it's physically assaulted, mentally assaulted, otherly assaulted, if you understand my drift, omnipresent in this series, especially at this point. There's a point in time where it seems very obvious that this girl is just ready to check out. Because she wants to go home. Remember the meme, I want to go home? Not going to sing that for you, but yeah. And while Rudy's checking up on her, saying, I'll warm the bath up, because he remembered, she wanted to use his bath. And he's like, well, just call me if you need anything. And she says, allow me to pull this up, and she looks bad in here. She looks super and they all can tell. Actually, Zenoba picked up, so she's not doing magical work for pleasure. Everything she's doing is like personal. Yeah. And where am I here? So she tells them that magic circles are like circuit boards, right? And you put multiple circuit patterns together to create one function. But no matter what she did, she couldn't get that one point to connect with everything. And so she's like, it's physically impossible, and I can never go home. And just lays down. Rudy calls in Zenoba, Julie, Elenise, and Cliff. And while none of them major in summoning, Rudy says, yeah, but we all come from different backgrounds. Maybe we can see things differently. And he's right. I love this group. The theme of this episode is camaraderie and working together. And before I go any further, I want to talk about the part where I forgot, where Sylvie asked Nanahoshi, you said that you and Rudy come from the same place. What did you mean by that? And I forget Nanahoshi's response, but she's like, she basically was saying it doesn't mean anything. I thought we came from the same place because we spoke the same language. They both are keeping secret that they both come from a whole other place. Rudy is essentially, at least for right now, is keeping secret that he's on his second life. Nanahoshi is still on her first, but pardon me, but essentially she technically does not belong here. And thus, when she kind of said, well, I thought we spoke the same language, I thought maybe we were from the same place, but it's not. They have a hidden camaraderie. And it is confirmed later on when we have the collective group think. She kind of blushes a little bit and saying, well, thank you, I'll put you through a bit of trouble, which I'll get to the bit of trouble in a minute. He says it's give and take, right? And I hope when I'm in trouble, you will help me. And this feels like foreshadowing. It really feels like foreshadowing for the future. But he gets these collective minds. They all come up with a way, and it's from Zenoba, the least magically inclined of all of them, who's been studying that doll, that automaton, saying, yeah, whoever made it used two overlapping circles to get things like the joints to move. And then Cliff, he is one of those geniuses that freak out when he can't figure it out. He was freaking out, and you got Elenise trying to comfort him. But when he looks at the circle, he's like, wow, double layer circles could work with this. They get Nanahoshi back to her lab. They show her the circles. She goes, oh, it's so simple. How could I not have thought of that? Because it is simple. A lot of times we tend to overlook the simple solution to something in favor of something more complex, because that's typically where our minds go. Whether it's in a show, fake or real, fiction or nonfiction, waking world or fantastical one, we all do tend to overlook the simple solutions, myself included. So, yeah. And they start working. Her and Cliff work close, hand in hand. We have a montage. Sometimes they sleep at her place. Cliff and her have a little nerd fight. But once, and I thought they were just going to redraw everything. No, they use several different sheets, overlap where they need to. Rudy powers it, and they summoned a water bottle. Cliff was like, oh, it's glass? No, it's not glass. It's spongy. It's a plastic bottle. Looks like it's a 2-liter. So they celebrate by suggesting to Elenise. They celebrate the close people are there, right? The Beast Girls, Boggy Doggy, Sylphie, Cliff, Ella. The close group is there, right? And they're celebrating. And I got some cute montage moments. I'll bring the cute montage moments up first. Sylphie cannot hold her liquor, so the Beast Girls are teasing her. Rudy going, stop that. You have Julie and Ella both drinking, and both Zenoba and Cliff are just looking at him like, whoa. Remember, Julie is a dwarf. Dwarfs are known for drinking. Elenise is centuries years old. She's probably used to drinking. Boggy Doggy dude has 6 arms, so he's gonna be a bit of a pig. But Rudy has this saying. Well, not the saying, but he says this one thing, right? He never got to experience a party like this, cheering up, being rooted on by your friends, and a party, you can't help cheering up when you have something like this, and you want to party and spread joy, right? And he says, and I agree with half of this. You can't live if you don't forget everything every once in a while. I agree with that. Life's too full of downs for that. Disagree with that. I don't think life is full of downs. I think because of the things that happen in life, whether it's things that bring you down, whether it's things that you are stressing about to get through for the next day, life is full of such uncertainty. This is where my agreement and his disagreement are becoming one. You do have to forget everything once in a while. That's why we watch anime. Sometimes we watch anime to forget. Sometimes we watch anime to remember and to get through these things. But yeah, it's why hating on different shows, and I know this isn't really a shonen show. I usually have this speech for, the Bleaches, the One Piece, the Naruto stuff. Whenever I get to do Naruto stuff, the hating on shows is dumb because we're all here to forget about stuff. Sometimes you watch things and you're reminded of it, and that's okay. It makes you think, oh, things are okay. This reminds me of this, and this is okay, so everything's going to be okay. Life is too full of downs. Life is too full of uncertainties. Sometimes you just got to forget. I like that message. I might not agree 100% with it, but I love that message there. The ending song is very much different because there's no ending credits. I don't know if Nanahoshi's voice actress had sang this song, but it was a nice song. It felt like it went with the moment. If I can find it, I'll put it in the description below. But that was the meat of the episode. It followed up with the Aisha and Norm thing, but we do have a moment where while the newlyweds are eating dinner, Rudy's asking, is there anything you want of me? Because he appreciates his woman, and she wants him to show her how to do the dispel magic he did during the little battle they had before he recognized it was her, and then she's going to show him how to do some advanced healing. Rudy cannot do the advanced healing, even though it should work just like any incantationless magic, but he doesn't know how it feels, right? He doesn't know how it feels to be healed, so he can't really do it. But when it comes to offensive magic, it's like part of his blood. Like he can understand that. You get a little funny blurb from Sophie going, I'm kind of relieved that you can't do everything. It's funny, right? It's a thing, but yeah. And she can't do the dispel magic because he tries to get her to practice on a water ball. And he kind of distracts her by saying, do you think our children will have a knack for magic too? And flusters her, and she can't do it. But apparently elves have difficulty having children, because she says she takes after the elf side of her family. And, she might have some difficulty. So, they might have, he might have to get a concubine. And Rudy's flat out going, I will not have children with anyone who I do not cherish. Wink. And I'm only winking, not because what he said is false. What he said is 100% true. If you know, you know. But that is a interesting statement that may or may not come back in the future. It will definitely come back in the future. It certainly will. Gotta remember, he's Paul's kid. Whether he is reincarnated or not, he is Paul's kid. That's gonna come back. That is gonna come back. Great episode, right? Last week's episode was better than this one. This one was better than episode 13. But this episode, all the way, filled with just the themes, man. The themes of trauma and getting over things and learning how to get past things. And I love the fact that Rudy is confronted with, he's saying if things were different, he could have actually ended up like her, right? He could have been sent here with no way of getting back home. And Nanahoshi's been there for a while. She just doesn't age. So I love the fact that he can recognize things and it affects him, but he's able to move through it and talk through it. He trusts people. He's getting people to trust one another. I love it. I love seeing growth after all this. And I love it when it's not really thrown in your face like, haha. The only time it is when he's like, oh man, a former NEET is going to take care of his folks. That's crazy. That is the little bit that they're going to give you. The rest, you can kind of figure out if you watch and pay attention. Yeah. Great episode. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. I have no reason to give it a 5 to not give it a 5 out of 5. I think last week's had so much emotional weight to it. This one does have emotional weight, but it's showing growth. I'm gonna give it a 4.5 out of 5. Yeah. That's my last 4.5 out of 5. Just because of the emotional weight, you see the growth from Rudy. Honestly, you know what? Nope, scratch that. I'm giving it a 5 just because of RJ. Seeing Rudeus and good little red sister. 5 out of 5. Yep. Nope. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. I want to know what you think of this episode. Again, last week was exemplary. This is really good. I know why I didn't give 13 like 4. I gave it a low. I believe I gave it a low 4 because it was nice. This is it. And you give it a 4, 13. Give it a 4 because you got to pay attention to where they are because they're back inside of that basement room when discussing how to help Nanahoshi. So yeah. Every episode for the most part is important. I'm looking for maybe next week's episode is going to be about how Norm and Aisha got there. That would be actually interesting. I like episodes like that when they flip it and they change the point of view. So again, let me know what you think in the comment section below. 5 out of 5 from me. Do not forget to hit that like button. It really does help. Subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can be notified of more reviews just like this one. I appreciate you all. Please be good, be blessed. Wash those hands. Drink some water, all right? Be good to yourselves, be good to others. Either way it goes, please don't be a jerk and stay safe out there, all right? And realize there are people out there that care about you. Do not be afraid to reach out to someone and talk to them. There are people that would rather talk to you today than to miss you and mourn you tomorrow. All right. Again, in the description is my social medias. Follow me, send me a message, say hi. Just don't be a jerk about it and we'll be good. Patreon link is in there below as well. Yeah. So until next time, guys, I can't wait to see what we're going to get with that Little Sisters episode. Norm and Aisha, I'm pretty sure there's going to be a bit of bickering because we got a little bit of bickering at the end part of this. So I'll see you next time.